So tracing an image is pretty easy on Illustrator. So if you've decided what you want to actually pick and choose to trace, um, yeah, it's quite straightforward. So say for example you wanted to go for something like a retro cartoon character. So I've just searched this up and say we want to pick something and actually emulate it and maybe manipulate it to kind of what we want to make. So we don't want to obviously rip off any of the artwork or um, kind of make copies of the artwork that you kind of see on the internet, but we want to make something similar to, or you like a specific graphic that you see on the internet and you're like, I want to replicate that. So say for example, you want to do something like this, um, espresso character, like the way that its face is and the smile, say for example. You kind of have to pick something that will sort of work for you. In this instance, it's quite distinct. The colors between the foreground and the background are pretty clear. So, say you wanted to sort of trace this for its cup and the face expression, for example, it's pretty easy. So, what you do is just basically find the image and just kind of save this as you need to. So we'll just save this on the desktop. And then what we'll do once that's saved, we'll just jump in back into Illustrator. And then we'll just drag that onto the canvas as we need. Okay, so what this will do is it will drag the artwork onto the canvas. We're just going to make this smaller. Okay, so the main way to kind of do this is once you've got the image onto the canvas, you can click on the image and you should see in the top control bar is there's an option called image trace. So this is what Illustrator does to convert it into a vector object once it reads the image. So you can see there's an arrow button that's got tracing presets. So these are the presets that Illustrator gives you. The best way I would say to probably do this is just do image trace and just see what Illustrator does first and foremost. So if you hit image trace, it's literally just going to trace it based off what it sees is most distinct between the foreground and the background. So I'll explain that. If I undo this, and say for example we image trace this with, maybe we'll stick to 3 colors and make it really simple. You'll get a lot more of the detail in this way, but it won't make it super complex. So you can see now it's pulled out some of the details of the halftone sort of texture there, but it hasn't really pulled it that well. But it's pulled a lot of the detail in the face and the sort of cuts in the eye there. If you zoom in really closely, you can see it's not really tracing everything as effectively, but it's getting most of the image there for you to sort of edit and expand and do whatever you want with it. And we'll do this once more. Probably do this maybe the right way, and I'd probably say you can go just a normal image trace might work in this instance, or we can go line art. We'll see what line art does. You just have to be prepared for Illustrator to do a little bit more work to read it. So you can see line art just does line. I encourage you to just test each of these features and then pick a version to sort of go with. I think black and white, I think this was black and white, is probably the most straightforward way because we've got most of the main elements of the face here, but it's a bit jagged. Maybe what we'll do, we'll undo that and we'll just go image trace and we'll stick with 3 colors. I think this is the best way because we've got like that light skin color, that beige, the orange, and then that sort of half orange tone in the half tone. So once you've traced it and you're happy with it and you want to edit it from here, say we can clean up the feed and the half tone and remove all of that. It may take a little while, but what we do once that's traced is go, you don't need to hit that drop down menu, but you can go expand. So you can see what types of results you can show based off what Illustrator traces, but what I do just generally just go expand. So what this will do is it will expand the object and it'll turn all of this traced object into paths. So you can see all those paths that are there based off the traces, which is really powerful. It's just such a great tool. I've been using this for years and it's worked every time. To break this apart, by default Illustrator is grouping this. just go ungroup, and this is where you can kind of clean it up. So maybe we don't want that, so it's ungrouped it, we can delete it. Say for example we don't want this, we can delete it, so on and so forth. Say it hasn't done the letters that well, but we can delete those. You can see there's a bit of cleaning up to do around this artwork, so that's why I say try and keep the trace to as simple as possible. If you can get it down to black and white and you can make color changes based off that, it's probably better for you to do that rather than having a lot of this leftover stuff to sort of clean up afterwards. So we can delete that. We can pick different colors, we can leave it as is, you can do anything with it really. And then from here you can basically, if you hit the direct selection tool, you can basically manipulate this artwork to however you want. You can change its color, you can change the stroke width, you can add a stroke, you can, so you kind of want to keep the face. You can highlight that, and you can kind of use this for whatever cup you want to use. So this is how you kind of make the artwork your own, in a sense, by obviously taking a few elements and making your edits to make unique artwork, rather than plagiarizing and taking something that's not yours. I'd probably suggest doing it that way. But hopefully this helps. There's different ways you can obviously trace artwork in Illustrator, but I would say, yeah, doing this the normal way, I think, with just a single image trace is probably the best way. If you've got two colors like black and white, that's probably the best way, I would say. So if we just undo that once more, we can image trace. Maybe we'll just do shades of grey and we'll just see what that does. There you go, that's quite clean, but it's still doing that half-tone shading. So yeah, maybe we can do outlines. Just do outlines so you can see what Illustrator pulls out when it traces. You can see that these are the paths that it creates. So Illustrator is a very strong tool, so it's going to create all those paths for you, and you can kind of manipulate them as you want. So yeah, it's quite an interesting tool. I'd probably say the more practice you get with tracing and expanding and manipulating, it's probably the best way to edit the artwork. Always remember to ungroup once you've traced, expanded, and then ungroup. That's the way that you should do it. Okay. From here, you can obviously recolor. You can move things around. Let's say we want to change the coffee to like blue or something, like our old logo that we had. And then you can do your changes from here, that sort of thing. Alright, let me know if you've got any questions.